What happens if you're old, poor and alone, and you get Alzheimer's? If you have no friends or family to make decisions for you. Become a ward of the state. Have a state-appointed guardian. Alz dos not indeed get better and progresses. Good news, you don't know you are old, poor and alone. So you got that going for you. Both answers are right. Start with homeless and eventually die welcome to the modern world. Me personally, I buy a motorcycle with 0 down and find the nearest bridge pylon if I have the presence of mind to do so. Bros and I have an agreement on this: if any one of us gets dementia, runs in the family, buy me a motorcycle, point me at a big tree, and tell me we're racing. The answers of you'll end up in a home or skipping quite a few important steps, including homelessness. That's the final answer. Sure, but after years of being vulnerable and at risk, so you'll be lucky to make it that far. This is how the system is designed. Newsflash: they don't want you to make it that far unless you are privately funding your own care. Soon only the Bezos and Trumps of the world will be able to afford retirement and aged care without severe risks in getting to the point of being in a facility. Hopefully, you'll wander outside and attract the right attention. Otherwise, you will forget to feed yourself, drink water, take your medicine, and a myriad of health safety factoids you don't pay a lot of attention to now. You die a sad death. In Australia, you'd be under care of social services and be placed in a nursing home if you had deteriorated a lot and were unsafe. If it was still mild, then may be able to get a part-time support worker to help you with some tasks. In the USA, you probably just die. If you're lucky and someone notices, you might get some social services depending on the state. The quality of care varies, but in most places it's pretty low. In America, you suffer the same fate as my former neighbor, who went out for milk late one winter night, got lost on the way home, and was found dead of exposure miles away in a forest with her face eaten off by wolves. In other words, you's fucked. R.I.P. Jane. You deserved so much better. Most likely die of starvation. Depends where you are. In most places in the U.S., homeless, jail, dead are the most likely results. Homelessness is the usual answer. You're dead. Decomposing body is discovered 6 months after your demise because of the smell emanating from your apartment. You better take yourself out before you forget how. That would have happened to my aunt if my other aunt hadn't noticed and intervened. She had neglected her beloved dog to the point she had to be put down. Her nephew had POA and stole all her money. She fell and broke her arm. My family lives out of state, so we couldn't help her. We didn't even know it was going on. If it wasn't for my aunt taking her in, she'd be wandering her big empty house, not eating, not feeding her dog until it died. At some point a person might consider medically assisted death. It's legal here. You die. You don't know. Social service would put you into an assisted living program. Ideally, you would have filled out the necessary legal paperwork beforehand. Your FC kid. This just happened to my Mills brother. Brother was lost inside the bank. Didn't know where he was or his name. Was very disoriented. He stopped talking to family and basically vanished 20 years ago. His emergency contact was his ex-wife still, who he hasn't spoken to in 20 years, and she got the call that he was in the hospital. They never had any kids. Smiling face with tear. I've told my kids, if I'm a vegetable, plant me. I'm looking forward to my long dirt nap. We live in the US, they just let you die. What the fuck did you think? I like your cheerful cast of mind. You have a guardian appointed by the state and are placed on Medicaid and are kept in a nursing home. You will be lucky in the fact they will make sure you're taken care of in place with people just like yourself. You certainly won't be left alone, and if you become a real pain they will just medicate the hell out of you and in return speed up the dying process, and the beauty of it is you will have no clue what's going on when you near the end of your natural now medicated life. Unfortunately, a lot of people do end up homeless and unable to care for themselves. I am single. No kids and most of my family has died. My mom had dementia, so I'm doing everything I can now in my 50s to sharpen my brain. But I have a paper that says if I get dementia and it gets to the point where I'm combative and have no quality of life, I want the end-of-life medication. The bad news: you are made a ward of the court and they stick you in some long-term care facility where you sit in your own pee for hours on end. The good news: you will forever be meeting new people and you get to hide your own Easter eggs. P. Alzheimer's is brutal. You won't even be aware of your situation. Recently read a story of a homeless man arrested for killing an Alzheimer's patient who wandered off and went missing. Someone will take care of your feeding and other needs, but it may not be a good situation. My great-uncle had no next of kin and really had nobody to speak on his behalf. He was sent to a nursing home by his doctor and unfortunately died there alone. My pop could have been next of kin, but he had dementia and died just before him, and understandably couldn't act on his brother's behalf. State-funded nursing home where they give you benzos and you stare at a wall while being mostly neglected for the rest of your days. This is genuinely as close to hell as I can imagine. The fact that it's not just possible but probably common makes it all the more heartbreaking. Buckle the fuck up. You end up in state care in a shitty assisted living facility with poorly trained and paid staff. Saw it many times as a hospice patient care volunteer. I will let you know. You can have a successful political career if you live in a Republican state. You're usually found by neighbors living in a state of disarray or found wandering the streets by anyone. Medical staff is called to do a wellness check, and then you're admitted to a hospital. After a case manager and social worker find out as much about it as they can, you're admitted to a facility, and your assets seized to pay for your stay relocation. That's if you're found unhurt and alive. America. By the way, this was my old neighbor. She was very sweet and we didn't notice at first. But after living next door for 8 years we started to notice she seemed a little off and kept getting worse. We came home one day and found her in our garage, confused and scared. We called non-emergency and they sent a social worker over to help her get home safe. After a few more neighbors called with similar incidents, she was taken to a state-funded nursing home. Depends on country. And if USA state. In which country? Your doctor might notice that you are forgetting and you will be forced into a care facility. Alzheimer's is something that progresses with time, I think. Good question though. You die. You'll be placed in a state institution. Get Medicaid and go to a nursing home. You die. Maybe get institutionalized. You get sent to a hospital ed. Then you'll get assessed. They designate you as gravely disabled. You'll be sent to a psych wing or psych hospital. The social workers there will then try to get you services and placed in an adult family home. As long as you are not a threat to anyone's safety as well as your own. That's where you'll stay till the end. If you are, then you get sent to jail or the hospital and the process starts all over again. If you are a danger and a hard-in-the-head old person that elopes regularly, then you'll die in the streets. Hope this helps.